It was 4 million years ago when Zion's Watchtower Tract Society was legally incorporated. Well, that raises the question, what has Jehovah accomplished in the last day? The answer is nothing. But today, we have nearly 9 who are preaching the good news of God's kingdom in some 40 lands and with publications in more than 1 language. That's a lot, wow. The Congo branch averaged more than 400,000 baptized a month. That's more than over 9,000.
It's over 9,000!
New missionaries a day.
Okay, it's up. Guess who just walked in? There's Jake.
Hey everybody! My name is Jake. Welcome to the show. This is Sunday Service, a show where sometimes there's very loud background noise. Sorry about that. I'm a former Jehovah's Witness, current live streamer, coming at you at the end of the year to review all the weirdness that's been going on in Jehovah's Witnesses this year, the year of this channel specifically, and the latest governing body updates and stuff. Hang on real quick, just because I want to try and close. Okay, yes. So that was the classic intro. One of the things we changed this year was the intro, but I don't know. I've been a little salty because that 9/11 clip went viral on TikTok a couple months ago, and I've seen certain people. I don't know. I know I didn't invent that clip, but it was like a part of this show, and I'm like, hey, wait a minute. Me, what about me? Why am I not getting credit for this? Very cringe. It's not like I filmed it. And yes, here's me again. I feel like this was a slow and dead year. I don't know. This year went by super fast for me, and a lot of stuff happened, certainly within the Jehovah's Witness religion, which I generally cover on this channel. But before we get into that, before we get into actual news and stuff as people filter in, I figured I would take the time to complain about YouTube.
Oh, happy day. All worldly complaining about YouTube.
Yes, I complain about YouTube often. In fact, I really kicked it off by doing exactly that. Yeah, also, like, zooming in on the clapping during the conventions. Like, I've been doing that. I've been doing that the whole time, my guys. That's okay. If there's, like, a lesson I'm trying to take from this year, it's that comparison is the thief of joy. I've felt very cringy because I'm often lamenting, like, I don't know, I have ambition and stuff, and I always want the channel to be bigger than it is, but that's cringy, and who the fuck wants to hear people complain about their views? Not me. So this is the last time. This is the last time I'm going to do it. Needed to get it out of my system. I mean, look, I feel like we're losing viewers, just me even broaching this subject. And I think that's totally valid, because it is cringe. So I'm definitely going to be trying to be less cringe in the coming year, less complainy, because I'm really loving doing the channel. Like, honestly, looking back, I feel like it's really only in the last year and a half that my videos have started to be actually good, like up to the standard of like what a YouTube video should be. And so I've never been having more fun than I'm having right now. I just really like making the videos. So I'm really excited for the coming year. This coming week is going to be a little bit of a marathon because I've got a lot of videos that I still haven't gotten out. I like the new year to be a little spiritual reset, whatever that means for somebody who doesn't actually believe in spirituality. So I want to try and get out a video every day this week so that come January we can start afresh. One of those things is that awkward silence, like the full annual meeting awkward silence thing, which isn't even really an awkward silence thing anymore. It's just like a prolonged YouTube poop of the entire annual meeting of Jehovah's Witnesses with a lot of awkward silences strewn in. Like the rule I make for myself is that I have to include every awkward silence and make something out of it. So, and I just like making them for fun, but I don't know, for some reason this one I just always try and do a little bit more every year, and now it's a complete mess and it's borderline unwatchable, but it will be released anyway, probably on New Year's. Also, that Luigi doll's been there the whole time, by the way. That's not a new addition, but I haven't removed him. You know what I'm saying? I like the idea that that old Luigi there in the background's taking on a new meeting. Okay. Ooh, all right, so we got some tea. I hope this is from Sophia Serena. I hope this will make some of you giggle. Talk to my JW mother-in-law, and she was telling me only one person showed up to the service meeting yesterday. Oh man, yeah. I think that's one thing I want to talk about in general on this stream is kind of the slow decline of the channel. And also, by the way, thank you to Dr. Shemp for the super sticker. Appreciate you. Well, thank you. People are saying your videos are good. Listen, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. When I watch them, I think they suck. Also, like, I'm confronted with having to look at my face. And I think maybe when my commentary started to get stronger is right after the time when I had surgery, and I'm, like, really emaciated and skinny. I was down to, like, 120 pounds or something, which is crazy skinny for me. And so I also just don't like watching them for that reason, because I'm like, oh, God, I look sick. This reminds me of bad times in my life. All right, enough introspection. Dude, I caught my dad forwarding my messages to someone. Wait, what do you mean by that? Like XJW messages? I want to hear about that. All right, now I want to get into, before we get into the retrospective, let's look at the final governing body update of the year. Let us go to jw.org. They finally released their Jesus movie to the masses. Or did they earlier? I definitely was able to watch it because somebody sent me a link. Oh, you know what? Why not? Let's go on a tangent. Because this, I know they've used this before. This Why Go On, like this little magazine cover. I feel quite confident that they used this. Like, let's see. April 2014, yeah. Like, holy shit, because I remember having a crush on whatever this stock photo girl is when I was a witness. And look at this. You can see how the artwork is... Oh, wait, that's not even what I was thinking of. Yeah, this. They don't really do this kind of artwork anymore. It's interesting. Even something like this, just like a basic stock image-looking picture, I feel like they would do something more stylized, their new publications. And yet, they, on their website, can just cycle through old content. Maybe we'll talk about that too, the way that they don't create as much new spiritual food as they used to. There's a really good Reddit post that demonstrated that I saw today. But governing body update number 8. And I'm aware of this somewhat, like the discourse around it is that the governing body in this update is talking about how you shouldn't treat actors in the JW movies that they release on their website as celebrities. And so that's kind of interesting. I have thoughts about that, but I haven't seen it myself, so I need to do that. Now, please let me know in the comments if the video is like way louder than me. That's been a problem I've had lately, and I can't really tell when I'm streaming, you know what I mean? So sound off But before we get into that, I do just have to take a quick sip of the water of
My
life.
church had been giving me ass to drink. But now I was freely receiving, the water of life.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I had a nice, healthy sip in the meantime. All right. Maybe to preempt, to foresee the calamity and conceal myself, I'm going to turn this down a little bit, see how this is.
Welcome to our program. To begin, we have a few updates about our brothers and sisters in Eritrea. As you'll recall, in September 2024, the authorities imprisoned 23 brothers and sisters who were peacefully meeting together. We're very pleased to inform you that on December 7th, 2024, Sister Sovereign Gebru, who was 8 months pregnant at the time, was released from prison. We rejoice over this positive development.
Weird. Okay, so this is getting into the persecution porn, as we tend to call it. I mean, I think it's wrong when Jehovah's Witnesses are imprisoned for their beliefs. Let me be clear about that. I do think it's a little exploitative how they use this as a proof, because a lot of times in countries where Jehovah's Witnesses are under ban, other groups of people, not just religions, but sometimes minority groups, LGBTQ people even, will also be imprisoned. And Jehovah's Witnesses don't include that in their like narrative. It's just they focus only on their own oppression so that they can then spin that into the narrative of how in the last days Jehovah's people will be persecuted like every other religion does. Okay, kind of quiet. So you're saying me or Kenny Cookie? I'll turn him up a little bit. It was a little quiet for me too, but again, sometimes my perception is wrong. All right, I'm going to speed him up too, because Kenneth Cook is painfully slow. Let's go up to 1.2 for Kenny.
However, her husband, Brother Fitsum Goitum, remains in prison for his faith. Sadly, Eritrean authorities have recently imprisoned 5 more of our brothers and sisters. On November 1st, 2024, national security officials arrested 4 witnesses aged 16 to 18, brothers Zesani Binyam and Ebenezer Jonas, and sisters Sidon Tehesta and Horeb Tehesta. The young brothers and sisters were interrogated and immediately taken to the Myserwa prison.
All right, was hoping to sneakily take a sip of water and had the cap on. Very obviously just had the cap on and failed to take a drink of water. So that's just, I can't even play the sound drop for this one. I think I just got to accept the L. Okay, so this is, he does seem a little quieter than normal. Like, he's quieter than normal for me too. And my volume's turned up pretty loud, at least on my end. Okay, so my thing about this is, like, why, what is it about the way Jehovah's Witnesses operate in other countries where the work is under ban that gets people arrested? Because when COVID broke out, it started to impact the United States, the governing body shut everything down and followed all of the sort of generic health guidelines that you're supposed to follow during a pandemic. And part of that was, okay, we're now just going to meet online. We're not going to meet in person. So we're just going to meet online, and we're also not going to preach in person. And my question when that started to happen was, well, why haven't they just always done that in places where the work is under ban? Like, why are they making them go in person at the risk of being imprisoned if they could just as easily and with Jehovah's blessing use an online way of meeting, or maybe meeting in really small groups so that it's not obvious, so that it's not as obvious to the government that it's a religious gathering. I don't know. Like, I think that that's my issue with this sort of thing, is it seems like Jehovah's Witness leadership doesn't take the safety of their membership seriously. I feel this way in the United States too, just in the door-to-door ministry itself. is dangerous when you really think about it. They do advise witnesses not to go into no trespassing areas, but that's about it. And I know I was invited inside a couple times as a witness, and you meet somebody you realize is unstable, a little creepy, and now you're just stuck in this person's house. And that's just here where the right to preach is established. So, like, why aren't they doing these like alternative forms of meeting in other places? So that's the thing that I have a hard time kind of expressing on the channel, because I think it's wrong to imprison people because of their religious beliefs. It always just ends up making the problem worse because they can fold it into their persecution narrative, and it benefits the group from an optics point of view. But that's kind of what it feels like. I've seen some people in comments saying that, yeah, then they wouldn't get to brag that they're persecuted. And Sean saying, yeah, but we're not an American religion. I know. Well, honestly, Jason, I wondered if anybody would know what the written review even is, because it hasn't been a thing in such a long time. Yeah, I was a child stuck in a creepy house one time. That's a really bizarre thing to think about. It's just sort of not safe generally. So that's my critique here, but we don't really know the details. We don't really know the details of like what are the circumstances under which these guys have been arrested, because it seems to me that a lot of times it's just them following a Watchtower's direction, but Watchtower's direction is the thing that gets them arrested. That's the tricky thing. I'm not trying to victim blame, because it's wrong for the government to do that in the first place. But I also don't think that the governing body really cares that much about people's safety, which you can see a really clear example of in Crisis of Conscience during the Mexico and Malawi double standard for whether or not it was legal to have a party card. Anyway, I won't get into all that.
On November 22nd, 2024,
yeah, he's just quiet.
Alma's Gebra Hewitt received a telephone call stating that officials had taken her daughter to the police station. When Sister Alma's went to the station, the officials detained her, but released her daughter.
That's what I wanted to call it.
As of December 23rd, 2024, there are now 68 brothers and sisters in Eritrea who are imprisoned for their faith. Please continue to pray for these dear brothers and sisters, as well as all of those who are imprisoned for their faith.
Wasn't there recently a talk where they talked about why prayer works, like why it matters for a bunch of people to pray about a thing? I feel like that came up on a stream recently, but now I can't remember what the video was, because it definitely never made any sense to me why prayer is supposed to work, like if Jehovah wants them in prison or not. That's a little confusing, because on one hand, the entire theology of Jehovah's Witnesses is that God does not intervene in human affairs because Satan is ruling the world, but also he totally does intervene all the time and miracles happen. And if we all just pray for our brothers in prison, eventually they'll get out of prison. I don't know. I don't really understand the metrics of prayer. I don't get it.
Reported on jw.org. On November 6, 2024, the Town of Ramapo Planning Board gave approval for the Ramapo site plan. This means that major construction activities may now begin. We're grateful to the Town Board for this approval. But above all, we thank Jehovah.
Oh, God, look at this. First of all, look at this sneaky, smug bastard face of his. Oh, boy. Amazing. So, in the real estate video that I did, where I talked about the group's real estate shenanigans, I realized when I was researching it that they had not yet done a construction update on Ramapo, which they have done every year since, 2022? Like, it's been a few years now that they announced this Ramapo project. I think originally it was supposed to be done in 2025. It doesn't seem like that's going to happen, since construction is basically just now beginning. But yeah, right under the wire, there's a video update. They released, as I was editing that video, just a little news item, a tiny article saying that they got whatever permits they needed, and now he's mentioning it. But they still haven't done the full spin of like a highly produced video where they're interviewing construction guys and talking about all their little experiences and how they know Jehovah is guiding the process. What I find confusing about this is they always say when they announce a new project that it's up to Jehovah's blessing. If Jehovah wants it to happen, it will happen. But what if there's a bunch of impediments in the way? Like, why doesn't that tell them, wait, maybe this is a sign that Jehovah doesn't want this to happen? It always just seems to be, no, those must be obstacles that Satan is putting there, and therefore overcoming them is what Jehovah wants us to do. I don't know. It's just, clearly what they're doing is just retrofitting. They do what they want to do, and then they just say that Jehovah's blessing it because they can spin whatever's happening into their narrative, because the cult leader can never be wrong. Let's just bask in this expression of Kenneth Cook's for one brief second.
What work has been accomplished on the Ramapo project, and what's on the horizon? We're sure you'll enjoy the following report.
Oh, he is sure that you'll enjoy it. And what does that say if you don't? Oh my god, why don't I have subtitles on? That's going to help a lot. I'm also going to go up to 1.5.
We are thrilled that final permission for the Ramapo project has been approved by the Town Planning Board. This is what
Jesus,
the
they
site
had
looks like
nothing done. Man, that's really, like, when did they announce this? I should know this. I just looked it up for that video, but I think they announced it in 2021. And this is it so far. I mean, we heard a lot about the trees, as we know. We heard an update on the trees. Another thing that maybe a channel stole that we don't have to talk about because New Year's resolutions.
A tremendous amount of preparation work has already been done, including much of the design work. The site has been cleared and temporary construction support facilities have been installed. But with this approval, we can now start the construction.
Godsticles! Oh my god. That's perfect. The trees.
Over the next weeks and months, contractors will begin rock blasting to level the land where the buildings
Rock
Because
blasting.
of the size of the area that will be developed and the landscape, this activity will take approximately 18 months to complete. As a comparison, the rock blasting...
Okay, so yeah, right there, they're not going to complete this in 2025. So, is that a false prophecy then? I don't know, because, I mean, am I wrong? That's when they said it would be completed originally. Because Tony gave that whole talk where he's like, now, does that mean that the end's not going to come till 2025? No.
project took less than 6 months. The rock will then be crushed and used to level out other parts of the site and for large retaining walls, all of which will result in cost savings. Over the next 12 to 18 months, Watchtower volunteers will start installing the underground utilities. The 2 entrances to the property will be complete, and the first building foundations will also be laid. This will quickly lead to structures coming out of the ground, such as the parking garage.
Quickly now. In what universe is this triangular, by the way? Somebody said that this looks triangular. Looks like a cluster of buildings. Oh boy. This image, this little image of people, yeah, this just brought back some memories. I got to spend a long weekend in Warwick working, and oh man, yeah. This is a lot of what you see. What's really disorienting about this is now you're seeing beards, and back in my day, kids, at Warwick, you knew who the worldly contractors were by their beards. And now, oh my god, you can't tell your brother apart from Satan's enemy. No, I guess if they're allowed on the construction site, they're all... They cleared the Jehovah background check. I was trying to see if I recognized anybody in that picture.
We are greatly enjoying Jehovah's rich blessing on this exciting...
Imagine how long and drawn out that would have been if I hadn't sped it up. That was such a long pause. Wait, now I want to see if I recognize anybody in this shot.
On this exciting...
I don't know.
Project.
We pray for Jehovah's continued guidance and blessing on the Ramapo project. We're grateful to all of you, dear brothers and sisters, who support the kingdom work worldwide. You show the spirit of those mentioned at Psalm 110, verse 3. Your people will offer themselves willingly on the day of your military force. In splendid holiness, from the womb of the dawn, you have your company of young men just like dewdrops.
Yeah, I do not like that verse. I always found that to be homoerotic in an uncomfortable way. Your company of young men. Weird. I don't like it. And that's coming from me. Okay, that, I have to say, was not a very encouraging update. Like, even with the exciting music and all that, I feel like it was a little bit of a hard sell for Jehovah's Witness leadership that they needed a new world headquarters in the first place, right? Let's think about this, because when they were doing this back in 2014 or whenever the Warwick project was happening, they had to get a bunch of people on board because the iconography of Watchtower's headquarters in New York was so important to the group, and they had implied at various points in history that it was divine direction that the world headquarters be there. So they had to do all this spin to get the membership not just behind the idea of moving the headquarters, but also to actively volunteer to help build this new headquarters. And it was a bit of a hard sell, but it was exciting. Once you started to see it, it's like, wow, a new world headquarters. And one of the ways that they spun it was the end's coming soon, and Jehovah's getting us where we need to be, like out of the city and into the fields. And now they really don't have any excuse. Like, there's no theological built-in excuse for why they also need a movie studio. It kind of undercuts their argument when they're constantly releasing movies and videos every single day. Like, they're already doing it because they do already have a media center in Patterson and spread out among a bunch of different branches in remote places worldwide. So it's just really, I don't know. I have a hard time figuring out what the membership thinks about this. I wish I could ask my dad, because he's an LDC guy. I know that him and my mom are very involved with it, but I don't know. I don't see a lot of, just from the JW perspective, why this would be exciting, because this doesn't seem to play into anything. It doesn't play into the end time narrative. I don't know. Any recent PMOs have any insight on that? Laying pipe. That's right. Laying pipe for the Watchtower. You know how it be. Okay, let's get back to this. How do I make it? Okay. It's different, but that's better,
While
probably.
many assignments are in the background, some assignments are more visible to others. For example, various brothers and sisters who appear in photos in our publications, or who are used in our videos. In recent years, our organization has produced hundreds of videos, including full-length dramas. At our conventions this year, no doubt you appreciated viewing the first episode of The Good News According to Jesus.
No doubt you appreciated it. We all loved the Jesus movie, didn't we, everyone? The Good News According to Jesus is such a stupid title, by the way. It sucks. Compare that to, like, The Passion of the Christ, The Last Temptation of Christ, and The Good News According to Jesus.
We look forward to all 18 episodes.
Another thing that really feels like that is not going to happen. There's no way that they're going to make 18 parts of this. I don't know. That seems unlikely to happen.
We deeply appreciate the time and hard work that various brothers and sisters contribute to make these projects come to life. Many from around the world have appeared in our videos. In some cases, a brother or sister has been interviewed or has told an experience from their own life. In other cases, they may have portrayed a Bible character or even a modern-day character.
Even modern
It could be
day?
that you know someone in your local area who's had this privilege. But here's an important question. How should we view those who appear in our videos? Those who appear in theocratic videos are dedicated, humble servants of Jehovah. They don't seek fame or glory.
There's a slow zoom, isn't there? Are they pushing in on Kenneth Cook? They don't seek fame and glory for themselves.
Quite the opposite. They want the glory to go to Jehovah. Thankfully, the majority of our brotherhood maintains this proper perspective. Nevertheless, there's a caution for us as viewers. We must avoid transferring our admiration for the biblical characters to the brothers and sisters who portray them on screen. Instead, we imitate the faith of the men and women recorded in God's Word.
Very interesting. Oh, we just saw, by the way, quick tangent, we just saw Nosferatu last night. Masterpiece. 10 out of 10. See it. It's so good. But, yeah, so I might break into a Nosferatu voice at certain points. This is fascinating. Yes, it definitely does seem like it's about Jade and Nita. But I would also imagine that it happens to all of the people who are in these movies. I have had the experience of knowing people who have shown up in these movies in some of the videos and interviews. I remarked upon it in the Wife of Lot video. Like, I know the uncle and aunt characters. I think they're uncle and aunt. They like, my grandfather studied with them and brought them into the truth, to use that turn of phrase. And so I knew them, and I know, oh, hello, thank you, darling. Oh, my wife just brought me a cup of coffee. Thank you so much. She knows me so well. There's another person I know who I can't talk about. Like, all the other people I've known in videos. There's a couple that appeared in a video pretty recently that I made a goofy, like a horror edit of, that were in our congregation, like me and Christina's congregation. I guess I don't know, sorry. I'm trying to unpack this logic. So, I find this really interesting. I imagine this is definitely a real thing that happens if you are Jade or Nita. You're definitely going to get a lot of attention from witnesses, because witnesses are increasingly discouraged from consuming any mainstream entertainment and watching JW.org instead. Like, the media showing Jehovah's Witnesses what to do with their day-to-day lives, the witnesses are always listening to original songs on their iPods and stuff. iPods, god damn it, I'm old. They're always listening to JW songs in the car and watching JW movies and programs on TV, like on their TVs. And so the reinforcement to JWs is that they should be watching and rewatching this stuff because it's acceptable entertainment. So of course they're going to view the people who are acting in the videos as celebrities. That's kind of a natural consequence. I think that it probably really sucks for the people who are in those videos, because, like, imagine you're Jade or Nita, and, like, let's be honest, one of the reasons why Jade is so popular is because she's very pretty. Like, both Jade and Nita are so cute, and they have interesting chemistry, sapphic, some would say. When you're a Jehovah's Witness, you live this totally sheltered life. You don't have any idea what fame is like. I mean, who does, other than actually really famous people? But you would really be a niche micro celebrity in the Witnesses, and because that's your whole world, it really would be overwhelming. And for all of the actors who appear in these movies, it's like the one... Imagine you want to be an actor your whole life, like that's your dream, but you're a Jehovah's Witness, so you have to channel that into the group, and by the grace of God, you end up being in a JW movie. That would be really emotionally complicated, I feel like. I mean, there's certainly one actor who was in a JW movie who has left the Witnesses, who hopefully we'll talk to on the channel one day. Oh, is this true? I'm seeing some commentary about MLMs. Some JW film stars use their fame to grow their MLM business. ... Oh no, Jenny Bloom. I hope that's not true. By the way, if you have not seen the last stream on the channel is one I did with Jenny, and the one before that I did with Eric from Skeptics and Scoundrels. We've been doing these great call-in shows on Thursdays, and they're great because it's just people talking and telling their stories, saying how they woke up from the Witnesses, and other groups and stuff. It's been really cool. So definitely go back and watch that. The bad JW chin couple from What Is True. They're the ones who have an MLM. Oh my god. Yeah, they're the ones who look like sort of two halves of a half moon necklace because their faces are like inverted in a weird way, but maybe they come together normally. Interesting chemistry, yes. Wow. Yeah, so I don't know. What I think the reason why the governing body addressing this is interesting to me is because it does seem like it would be a real problem, and it would be really disillusioning to the people who are in those videos, who I'm sure think they would want to be a famous actor, but that would be really overwhelming. It's already such a small world when you're a witness, and then actual celebrities and actors can go places where people don't recognize them. But if you're a witness and you're all watching the same thing all the time, and those are the only people you're ever interacting with, it would be totally inescapable. And so that would be probably really overwhelming. But by doing this, I do think that the governing body are also being... It's almost like they're able to pretend that they're being humble, because they are also, of course, people who show up on camera. But they didn't include the governing body. They didn't say that the governing body are also not celebrities and you should not overwhelm them and worship them. They have in the past, but they don't say that as much these days. And I also think for their purposes, they can say whatever they need to, because they're going to be worshipped no matter what. They go on stage in front of huge stadiums full of witnesses and get claps and laughter and attention and adoration. They get to travel all over the world, so they can say and project humility while also not being humble at all. I'll at least be honest with you about my lack of humility. By doing this channel, I do want to be famous. Call me fame makers. No, actually, I don't think I want to be famous. I think I just want to be able to make enough money to quit my day job. The GB doesn't want us to have the JW cinematic universe. It's too late. We already do. I think the wife cells doTERRA are one of those oily moms. Oh, wow, like essential oils and stuff. Whoa, these JW influencers are all somewhat cryptic about being JW. That's fascinating. I know that like a lot of Mormon women are also involved in MLMs. The lifestyle and the entire pitch that they're making is super compatible to that lifestyle. Interesting. All right, well, let's see where he goes with this.
How could it affect a video participant if we gave him undue attention, treating him like a celebrity? He could feel embarrassed or self-conscious. This could happen if we asked these ones if we could take a photo with them.
Interesting. Okay, so he doesn't say that it could inflate their ego. It says that it could make them embarrassed or self-conscious, which is crafty on his part, because I'm sure that you would feel pride and excitement if you always wanted to be an actor and then you got to be in a JW movie and then you actually get people like wanting to get their picture with you. You would feel good about it. But then in that same instant, you would feel bad about it because you're not supposed to seek great things for yourself as a Jehovah's Witness. So you wouldn't really be allowed to feel good about it. And so it would just be I don't know, straight mainline injection of cognitive dissonance of like, you are doing an assignment from Jehovah that by its nature is going to bring you undue attention, but you're not allowed to enjoy it. And if you do enjoy it, that means you're bad.
It would be even worse if we posted it on social media, perhaps even adding comments.
These ones!
The Bible condemns those who were flattering others for their own benefit. The footnote on that verse describes this.
Are you in my circuit? Wink, wink.
Some of our video participants have become overwhelmed by the inordinate attention.
I didn't mean like a double entendre. I meant literally in the circuit of Jehovah's Witnesses where I live.
Some no longer feel comfortable attending large gatherings of Jehovah's people. It's vital to have the right perspective of those who appear in our videos.
Wait, sorry, I missed this. Some no... Ooh, okay. Some have become overwhelmed by inordinate attention.
Inordinate attention. Some no longer feel comfortable attending large gatherings of Jehovah's people.
Okay, that part's definitely about Jade and Nita, right? I mean, let's look this up. But I feel didn't we see? I think Danny, XJW Caleb might have told me about this in our like WhatsApp exchange. But this was brought up on Reddit at some point. Jade actress. Great. See what's happening? What would happen? I feel like there was a post. We as a community need to do better about not thirsting after Jade. I'm just gonna... And you know, that's a note for me as well. If anybody knows what I'm talking about, can you email it to me? Just like email me the link to it. I'm looking on the XJW subreddit. Sorry, I just realized I'm not actually showing the screen. But this is what I'm this is what I'm seeing. Oh, wait. Maybe this is it. Jade Anita News. Oh, okay. All right. So this is 2 years ago. And okay, let's just get this out of the way. The first post, this is really calling to my attention more than anything, is this insane Photoshop thing. I hope someone tuned in just now, because I also don't know the context. Okay, sorry. Let's get back to the matter at hand. So I recently had so this is a person who is claiming to have had dinner with some Bethel heavies, and I always take these with a grain of salt because anyone can just say anything on the internet, but this appears to line up with what Kenny Cookie is saying. So I recently had a lovely dinner with a Bethel heavy out of the London Bethel branch, and we were on the topic of videos, as that is what his main focus is, and I wanted to share with you just a few key takeaways from our conversation. One, I'll start with the biggest news. Jade and Nita will likely not be seen any longer on video unless it's something that was already recorded and or previously aired. They have become quite the celebrities wherever they go, and it's been really, really hard on them. I can't remember which of the two is married, but one of them is about to get married. They show up late to the convention so they can avoid the photo ops and relentless questioning. He asked for prayers for them, spoke to another brother from Bethel, and he mentioned another brother from another video series a few years back, and he said the same thing. I'll bet it's the guy that played Jesus, and I'll bet it's why they have a new guy playing Jesus in their new movie. It's relentless how these brothers and sisters are bombarded with requests for photos, even asking his wife to get out of the photo so as not to spoil the op. These videos are definitely having a negative effect on the ones taking the lead. Wow, okay, that really seems like this. What's bananas is this is 2 years ago. This is 2 years ago. So wouldn't food at the proper time have been 2 years ago? They have made announcements like this before, so maybe they did, and this is just an updated announcement. But what I don't think it was specific enough to be like they don't feel comfortable going to the convention anymore. Also, I think in the interim, they did release at least one new Jade video, but probably it's something they filmed earlier that could align with what this person's saying. Well, let's look at the rest of this post, by the way, just out of curiosity. Most of the video editing work is done by non-Bethel members. This we knew. I think we've had ex-Bethelites say this, like Ben Ford, actually. He said there were less than 20 Bethel workers this I have not heard. He said there were less than 20 Bethel workers doing on-site video work and over 50 remote workers doing the bulk of the editing and field video. Now, keep in mind, this would have been in 2022, so that's the height of the pandemic, so that kind of makes sense. And this might be the London Bethel branch, which honestly I would have naturally assumed would have had fewer video editors than the US branch, just because the group is very US-centric. Anyway, the new skills they are looking for is video editing, animation, and voiceover talent. I missed my calling. Think of all of the impressions of governing body members I could have done. William Malenfant has a cold. No problem. I'm right here and can read as William Malenfant. He also said that they are constantly on the lookout for qualified brothers and sisters who can act for different videos and experiences, putting out feelers all over the world. Oh man, see, like, if I had stayed in long enough, this totally would have been my goal. That absolutely would have been my goal. They keep databases about brothers and sisters who have different quirks, attitudes, and mannerisms, and when they require a character, they type in keywords and poof, they have someone ready to go. It's basically a waiting list, and you're on standby wherever you are in need. Okay, that's really wild. Wait, let's close this out, because it closes in a very English way. Overall, he was a pleasant old chap, but he looked very haggard and spread thin, like too little butter spread across bread. Hey, that's a description from The Hobbit, right? Or Fellowship. It's a Tolkien thing, though. I'm spread thin, like too little butter across bread. Something like that. Wow. So I heard the same thing when I visited a family member of mine who I was not very close with. Like, I definitely was just visiting Bethel and was like, hey, we're kind of related. Can you give me a private tour? And him and his wife worked in the media stuff. Well, he worked in personnel and his wife worked in the photography department. She did photography for the magazines. And he said the same thing, that they have like circuit overseers and traveling like branch representatives keep these little notebooks. Like they do put out feelers. They keep track of people, maybe even have a picture of them, like a headshot in Hollywood. And if they have need for a certain kind of actor, then they just look them up. And I also heard somebody else say that one of these circuit overseers who would do this used his little creepy notebook of people's faces from all over his travels to play matchmaker with certain Jehovah's Witnesses, because like he had pictures of every handsome guy and every attractive woman in the organization. So really bizarre. I have also heard that. So yeah, that's pretty wild. It seems like this is a real thing that's happening in the group. Weird. And I think it must have reached a point where they really had to address it. It's very interesting whenever they address things that they are hearing from the field that are actual problems that they need to address. Twice in 1 year, probably in 2022, they addressed letters that they were receiving from JW parents saying that their movies and videos were too scary for kids. And first Toni Morris addressed it, and then later I think it was Stephen Lett addressed it, and they both were like, too bad. Sometimes the Bible is scary and kids need to know the Armageddon's coming. But it must have been so bad for it to reach a point where they felt they had to address it. And that's one of the things I was trying to get across in my review of the Circuit Assembly, which stay tuned because there's going to be much more this week coming out during the second tri-week of all time. There's a lot of projection, and one of the things that really seems to have seeped in that they're now addressing more and more is the very credible allegation that the governing body are out of touch and don't really understand the struggles of Jehovah's Witnesses. I actually forgot to mention in that video, and I just remembered just now, so I forgot to mention it in the second video that's going to be coming out tomorrow. In the drama last year, the one that me and Christina reacted to, that takes place in an unknown country in Africa, that's part of the plot, right? Is that this African couple ignores the counsel of the governing body because they feel that those brothers in America don't actually know what it's like out here, and so we know what we're doing. And as a result of them ignoring the counsel of the governing body, they go on this insane misadventure where whatever, the Republican guards coming at them with machine guns. It's very strange. Jane Bloom says, that's why I dislike people sexualizing Jade and Nita. The actresses do not deserve that, and they're uncomfortable with the fame. They were not expecting it. It was just a JW privilege in the beginning. Yeah, I know. I did, like, one video a couple years ago where I put the, like, what you say music underneath some of their scenes. And honestly, like, I've not returned to that well, because as I've done this, and connected with some like ex-Bethelites through email and stuff, it's just made me more aware of like, at some point, if they do question, they're going to watch videos like this, and what if I'm saying something really cringy? So hopefully the Jade and Nita actresses won't see this. No, I think we're taking a good nuanced approach here on this chat, but yeah, I agree. I think probably we shouldn't contribute to this problem. I get it. I do get it. But there's enough people to thirst after in this world. Don't you know how many ex-JWs there are desperate for attention who would be just as happy to receive your compliments and thirst posts?
To have the right perspective of those who appear in our videos.
Have the right perspective.
Can you think of a Bible example of someone who was given inappropriate attention as he carried out his assignment?
Jesus
Perhaps
Christ.
you think of Paul and Barnabas.
Oh.
Acts chapter 14 reports that they became the center of attention after Paul cured a man who had been lame from birth. This was a faith-strengthening miracle intended to move people to praise and glorify Jehovah and his Son.
Oh, see, this is very clever. This is what I was kind of talking about in that video I did on how cult leaders deflate criticism. They're addressing in a subtle way that I think is clever. It's what they call in 30 Rock a backdoor brag, but not really. But it's like they're using this real experience that's hurting the more rank and file members who just so happen to have been in videos, but that's not like their whole assignment like it is for someone like Kenneth Cook. They're using this situation as a way to sort of deflate the criticism that they are bringing undue attention to themselves, and that the organization has become increasingly about worshiping the governing body at all costs, because by just addressing this and saying this out loud, it kind of signals to members, well, if this was a real problem, then they wouldn't be saying this. What, you think someone can just get on camera and lie on the internet? Impossible.
But what happened? Onlookers missed the point. They became enthralled with Paul and Barnabas instead. Acts 14, 11 and 12.
Good comment here by Rosemary Infante. Do you know what bothers me about this whole thing is that they do auditions for all of this. Meanwhile, isn't that competition to see who's best? What's the difference with playing a sport? That's a great point. When I took the Bethel tour that I mentioned earlier, actually, I went on the public tour as well. And on the public tour at Patterson, I don't know if it's still like this, but they did most of their video work at Patterson at that time, and they showed just like the step-by-step of how they make videos at Bethel. And in one of them, you see a bunch of different brothers and sisters auditioning for the parts in the movie. So like you see the people's auditions who ended up being in the JW productions, like the dad of the really sad drama where his kids die tragically. You see like his audition, and I thought the same thing, like, wow, what? That would be so devastating. Like one of my favorite movies is La La Land, and such a thing in that movie is like how demoralizing the audition process is. I definitely could not be an actor and would not want to be, because that just seems so traumatizing. Just like, you know, working up your emotions and being really vulnerable, and then they're not even paying attention, you get rejected. Also, I'm a bad actor, so it would be a bad fit probably. But I think like if that is your dream, right, wouldn't that be so devastating to you? Imagine that you're praying to Jehovah because your dream has always been to be an actor. That's your passion, but you can't pursue that in Satan's world. So what do? You pray to get in a Watchtower movie, and you finally get a chance to audition, and then you don't get it. That would be really hard for your faith, wouldn't it? That would be really tough. I think that's probably one of the reasons why I never sent in a Bethel application for the art department. I really thought about it, One thing is that they ask if you have viewed pornography in the last year, and I had, so I didn't turn it in that way. But then I was also worried about, like, what if they say my art's shitty? Thankfully, I've gotten over that fear of rejection, I guess, because what is YouTube other than that? Do we want to keep watching this? I think he's still saying some interesting things.
When the crowds
I'm going to fast forward past the Bible stuff, though.
14 and 15. Infirmities as Barnabas were quick to set the record straight.
This
They
art's
readily
really cool.
admitted they were just humans. They explained that their purpose was to declare the good news about the living God. The same was true of Jesus. He wanted people to glorify God. However, on one occasion, the crowd became so impressed by Jesus himself that they failed to grasp the meaning of his teaching. John 6:14 and 15 reports, when the people saw the sign he performed, they began to say, "This really is the prophet who was to come into the world." Then, Jesus, knowing that they were about to come and seize him to make him king, withdrew again to the mountain all alone. Jesus
Withdrew?
did not
Who's Drew?
He literally walked away from them and
God, it's so nice outside. I've got the window open. It's a little breezy. Well, it's not nice outside. It's rainy, but it's cozy. It's a nice, cozy temperature. So you might hear some wind and rain noises in the background. Okay, I wanted to highlight this comment by a name I can't pronounce. CYG. Since when don't JWs compete with each other in sports? I played way more hockey and basketball than going to meetings or service. Yeah, I know. I think what probably somebody's saying is you're not supposed to be competitive. They talk about how you're not supposed to have a competitive spirit, but yeah, I'm a very competitive person, but I'm very bad at sports, which is why I hated playing them, because I just hated sucking at something and then like being competitive about it. But like my dad and a lot of my friends played basketball, and oh my God, like I've never seen so much salty, it's the most competitive shit I've ever seen. Like, I had a few friends who were really into basketball, and like I would walk to the park with them, and they would pick up basketball, and then I would just like chill on the sidelines and talk to the girls who were watching them play basketball. The girls and then me, the wimpy guys who sucked at basketball. And they were so competitive, like the most extreme smack talk. But when they would play with worldly people, it wouldn't be as competitive. But I think it's just like when you are a Jehovah's Witness, you only get that one outlet for your competition. So like the stakes are so much higher and you feel it so much more intently. That's probably what it is. God, sorry for like being all weird incelly and talking about being a nerd who didn't play basketball. Again, this is the last mopey stream of the year, so I got to get this all out of my system.
withdrew to the mountain all alone.
No Mope
How these
2025.
Bible examples help us to have the right view of those who appear in our videos. The brothers and sisters who appear in our videos are humbly carrying out an assignment from the organization.
You know what you could do is just not make the videos, by the way. Like maybe this is Jehovah telling you that you shouldn't make videos, and that you should go back to doing things that didn't cause these problems, like writing detailed books of Bible prophecy.
Like Paul, Barnabas, and Jesus, they want the attention and glory to go to Jehovah. Of course, some brothers and sisters are assigned to portray servants of Jehovah.
I know, I did.
I
was getting dangerously close.
Can you imagine how difficult it would be for a faithful brother or sister to portray an enemy of Jehovah? We would not want to make that assignment even more difficult by developing negative feelings toward the individuals who play such roles. Clearly, balance is needed in how we treat those who play roles in our videos. May we continue to preserve the peace and unity of our
Oh, right. It was a basketball court thing too, wasn't it?
And not the brothers and sisters who appear in our videos. So what have we discussed in our update? We rejoice that Sister Sovereign Gebru was released from prison.
We rejoice at prisoners. A tip of the hat to people going to jail for their faith, and a wag of the finger to those who are giving undue attention to the people who we give undue prominence to. Great. Sounds great. Okay, well, that's a very interesting governing body update. Like, I find that interesting. Maybe that's the problem with this channel. The stuff I find interesting is actually pretty boring usually. Hey, thanks to Lowe for $4.99. Why did the cop go to work early? He wanted to beat the crowd. Thank Forrest Malachi for sharing that one. That's really good. I wonder if voice actors in their animated content get recognized. Probably not as much, although I don't know. Like, the guy who plays the dad has a very distinctive voice. I could see him getting recognized. Everyone else's voices are so generic. Like, Caleb could and probably has been replaced by various other kids who are Jehovah's Witnesses. He just sounds like a little kid. It's sort of like in The Incredibles 2, it had been, what, like 10 or 20 years since the first Incredibles. And so they just cast another kid to play Dash. And obviously there's just a lot of little kids who sound like that because he just kind of has a generic little kid voice. That's what I imagine they do with Caleb and Sophia. I knew Caleb's dad. He does not look like a CGI animation. Yeah, I'll bet. They can be very flattering. His fursona, Caleb's dad. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, well, here's what we should do. Let's look at a year of bullshit. Let's look at a year of bullshit in the group. I'm going to do this. I put absolutely zero thought behind this idea at all. For the first time ever on this stream, I didn't really think too much about this. Is it a French accent? Like, there's a tinge of French. I always wondered if there was something else going on there. I don't know. I do love his voice. Sorry for using the phrase fursona. I don't know. Okay. I wanted to just, like, because I stream basically every week, I figured, well, let's go through and see what I streamed about. That'd give us some idea of what happened this year, and we can reflect like mirrors. We can reflect like a mirror. The glory. Okay. 1 year ago. Beards. So when did this happen? Beards happened, it says 1 year ago. Just barely. Okay. So on December 17th, 2023, or probably a couple days before that, the beard change happened. This is a really fun stream, by the way, if you haven't seen it. We've got a lot of XJWs on there, including Apostate Barbie, Matt from the Falling Towers on there. I think Ron Poma might be on that one. But the beard thing. Okay, what do we make of the beard thing? All right, I guess I'll just... Well, let's look at this. I didn't... It's like I planned this. It's like I planned this ahead of time.
Forgo our rights regarding, for example, wearing a beard, if exercising that right
Hang on, I want to hear the full clip here.
might. Well, like Paul, are we willing to forego our rights regarding, for example, wearing a beard, if exercising that right might even possibly stumble someone? The governing body does not have an issue with brothers wearing beards.
Hey, everybody. Oh, boy, in my bedroom setup era. Okay, so that's... Yeah, the way he phrased that is so wild. And I think maybe this is really the start of arbitrary changes where there's basically no justification given for why now. Why now? Why was it acceptable to have this arbitrary requirement for so many years? And what he does is, at the end, he says some people might think that they were right all along, and some people might be upset because they followed this beard thing for so long. And the right answer is both of you are wrong because you're trying to brag, so shut the fuck up. They do some weird historical flashback, like, of the history of beards. My favorite part of that is when they read this weird, basically, review of Charles Taze Russell's beard and how magnificent and fluffy and snuggly it was, and how it made him paternal, and his beard made you trust him. That's what they said. You go back and watch it. Word for word. That was a direct quote. But it doesn't really make sense. Like, they don't bother justifying the fact that there was no scriptural basis for this in the first place. They're just like, well, the world's standards of modesty changed. But people have been having this conversation about beards for essentially the last, 40 years in the organization, because there's just no, like, the association with beards and like the hippie era, it has been so long over that it's just been absurd. It's been an absurd and unnecessary thing. And it's almost like the way that they spin it is, well, yeah, sometimes you have to follow arbitrary things that don't make sense to you. And too bad. Too bad. So that was the beard thing. That was the start of a lot of just random changes this year. All right, so I like this. Okay, so in quick succession, we had Norway's exposing watchtowers disfellowshipping lies, and then very shortly after that, the update happened where they changed all of this stuff. They made these adjustments to disfellowshipping. Having doubts is Satan. Oh yeah, this is the one where I developed that sound drop of all the weird way that Seth Hyatt says words. But yeah, I would say that was the next big change, right? The next big change was you've got to talk to people for 2 seconds if they're disfellowshipped when they come into the hall. You can be nice. You can be nice for a little tiny bit when they come in. But this was another huge thing that really shifted the direction of the organization and their tactics, why they have changed their disfellowshipping rules slightly and rushed out this magazine. They delayed it and then kind of dropped it. I'm not describing this very well. But yeah, the Norway thing I think was really important. I think it was important because it does show that if you hold Watchtower accountable legally, it will force changes that are beneficial to the group. They didn't change nearly enough. They barely changed anything at all, but it does sound like fewer minors are going to get disfellowshipped, and that's good. And the only way that they were able to... The only reason why Watchtower changed was because a lot of ex Jehovah's Witnesses stood up and really worked hard to get the Norwegian government to hold Watchtower accountable. And I kept on trying to find a way to say this in the Circuit Assembly video that I did, where they talk a lot about their Russian persecution. But I think it's a good example of why democracy is better than authoritarianism, because like when Vladimir Putin locks up Jehovah's Witnesses because he declares whatever the Orthodox Church of the state is, it just feeds the persecution narrative. It emboldens Jehovah's Witnesses. It makes them look more sympathetic, because for whatever you think of their policies, which I do think are extreme, throwing people in prison for their religious beliefs does not make the extremist religion go away. It just emboldens them. It creates martyrs, things like that. Whereas holding somebody accountable through a legal process and not banning them, but invoking essentially like monetary sanctions on the group, defunding them, that caused such like immediate panicking changes within the group to comply, to get their money back. So I don't know. I see weirdos sometimes like think that it's good that Russia treats Jehovah's Witnesses that way, and no, it's not good. It's bad. It just makes everything worse. All right, and then the Circuit Assembly happens. I forgot about some of our friends that we made over the years in this particular thumbnail. These were really fun, by the way. If you haven't watched the convention leaks, wait, is it a convention or is it a Circuit Assembly? Oh, right, this is a Circuit Assembly. And then this was the convention stuff. This one's great. This is with Scott Jones, who wrote Drill, which also came out this year, which is kind of an XJW psychological horror story that I recommend. It's really great. And we had a really fun time looking at these convention leaks. I kind of want to revisit some of these because...
These are places where families are often
God
forced...
damn it. One of the things about this convention was they played up the like Great Tribulation fear tactics. The like opening musical montage. God damn it. By the way, if there's ever like a million ads on a video, please let me know. What I've tried to start doing on new uploads, just because I was logged in to my account one day and looked, and it had put like 10 ads on some like 20-minute video. It was insane. And so I always just set it so that there's only one mid-roll ad on any video that I do of any length. And so if there's a bunch of ads in a video, let me know, because I'm trying to go through and manually change that. Because I find it really annoying as a viewer when shit like that happens. But anyway, this Great Tribulation video is pretty fascinating. This is the period of time right before Armageddon when Jehovah's Witnesses are under fire from the government, like what's happening in Russia, guys. And it's pretty wild. Like, I want to get to the part where they're on the bus and there's like essentially a stormtroopers doing the... Yeah. Yeah, they have like these guards searching and seeing, like, all right, are there any witnesses on the bus? Damn it, why can't I find this part? And it's all these witnesses going and secretly gathering for a secret meeting for field service. It's really bizarre. Maybe it's a different part of the video. Damn it. Oh, yeah, okay, well, this part's interesting. Like, these guys get pulled over by cops and think that they're going to be arrested because that's what happens. Very strange. That's another reason why they, like... I mean, it's really dark to say, but, like, the governing body, they benefit from their members being imprisoned because they exploit that for their end-time prophecy narratives. Wait, this really wasn't an important part of the year, but let's revisit one of my favorite guys of the year in a bad way, which is this creepy baptism talk guy. I really like this. This guy had a pretty interesting vibe.
You.
Whoa!
So glad to have you.
Whoa.
A few years ago, a brother.
This guy's got some riz. Let's hear him.
Please come to the front 2 rows in the center section of the auditorium.
Oh, it's the baptism talk, maybe. This is confusing even me. I'm like, wait, which one of me is talking right now?
We warmly welcome all of
Warm.
serving in the Minnewaska congregation as he answers to the good news.
The good
A
news.
few years ago, a brother approached me with a very warm smile.
That guy is amazing. This guy is kind of the quintessential JW speaker of like how performative joy can just come across as absolutely terrifying. I like it. That guy, you know, he gave us a valuable lesson that day. Oh yeah, and the fucking Jesus movie. The Jesus movie happens. How could I possibly have forgotten about that? That one was really bizarre because it just seemed like a total... It was just as shitty as all their other movies. It just ended up being as totally crappy as all of their other movies they've ever made. For whatever higher production value it had, to me, it didn't really pay off in any major way. They've always built sets that are like fine. Oh, of course, and we had the greatest librarian. Of course, we had the greatest librarian. That's another one of my favorite guys that we got to discover this year. Easily my favorite guy of the year was the good news guy. I've really shouted him out way too much. I don't even think that original video is publicly listed anymore. It's like my favorite video I've ever made. Shame. Yeah, that's right. Their dramatization series was like these millennial hipsters, kind of granola liberally types, who are spiritual but not religious, joining Jehovah's Witnesses for totally inexplicable reasons. Like, they never describe why they would go from being like wealthy yoga instructors to Jehovah's Witnesses. But that's the kind of fan fiction you can engage in when you control the JW media. There was a New Zealand CSA inquiry, Jehovah's Witnesses' ongoing failure to protect children. This was a really good stream. I think Apostate Barbie might have joined us on this one. But that was another important development, and it's another one that scares Jehovah's Witnesses because it scares the leadership because they rightfully worry about it causing a snowball effect. There's right now some questions in Canada that might result in some investigations. There's a grand jury investigation happening in Pennsylvania, which, believe me, there will be much more to say about in the near future. Very interesting developments going on there. And it's all quite bad. Like, it feels like there's just a lot of not good things boiling, and it all is possibly going to come boiling over. Now, I want to be clear that it's not going to mean the destruction of the religion, because that's not a thing that really happens to any religion. Cults die by slowly eroding away over time, like you might have seen with Scientology. They've just continued to decline, and they're just not as relevant as they used to be. Shit, I've got a Scientology story to tell later. I had an encounter with Scientologists the other day. But that's one way the cults die, is just slowly losing relevance. The other way is by self-destruction, and Jehovah's Witnesses aren't at the point where that thing is going to happen. I mean, the Catholic Church withstood the most brutal public child sexual abuse scandal in history, right? Why would this destroy Jehovah's Witnesses if it didn't destroy the Catholic Church? Yes, the Catholic Church is way bigger and more powerful, but here's the thing. If you're shameless, that's an asset. You can't be shamed, and these governing body members, they are shameless. Show some YouTube poops. Oh, all right. I suppose we've earned some poopage. All right. Well, let me play a little bit of as a break, as a treat. I'll play a little bit of this YouTube poop that I started the stream with, but probably most people here didn't actually see. And there's more to it. This is the work in progress that I'm hoping to release in a couple days. The full annual meeting supercut.
It was 4 million years ago when Zion's Watchtower Tract Society was legally incorporated. Well, that raises the question, what has Jehovah accomplished in the last day? The answer is nothing. But today, we have nearly 9 who are preaching the good news of God's kingdom in some 40 lands and with publications in more than 1 language. That's a lot. Wow. The Congo branch averaged more than 400,000 baptized a month. That's more than over 9,000.
It's over 9,000!
New missionaries a day. But many of those faithful ones have now passed on.
I think that's probably the end of that one.
Basically, we need young people who want to go and make people. Well, how old do you need to be to apply for the School for Kingdom Evangelizers?
God, he's so creepy.
Well, we're very pleased to announce today that the governing body has decided that young brothers and sisters 13 years of age or older may now apply to attend SKE.
I don't know. This whole thing has totally gotten away from me because honestly, there's really no awkward silences during the whatever this guy's part is. What's this guy's name? Mark Sanderson. He seems to have heeded the criticisms of this channel. There's not really any awkward pauses. The only thing he does is just read statistics. So I just thought it was funny to cycle the numbers around. Here's the thing: is I basically hate this entire edit now because I've just been chipping away at it for months, and now I'm like, none of this is funny. This all sucks. No, he didn't really say it. That was all sentence mixing. All of that was fake. They're not getting 400,000 baptisms a month. They don't have 9 publishers preaching in 40 lands in over 1 language. I'm a little scared that people are that like it's pretty obvious that the audio is clipped at certain points. You should add a smoke detector, low battery. Sure. Okay. Yeah, I also didn't know what was funny as an age for him to say. I didn't know. Felt like he had to say something. What else do we got? I think I might have shown the full. Hey, wait a minute! I never got a follow up from that one person, or maybe I did, who was like, "You're well known in our circuit." I didn't know if that person was just making like XJW community reference, or if that's somebody who I might know. I always find that interesting. Maybe add some goofy music to the background. Oh yeah. There will be more to come. That's not a finished edit. That's just what I was fucking around with last night. I don't know. I think it sucks. I think the whole thing sucks, but I gotta release it. Whatever I've got by the 1st, it's gotta. I want to hear a bazinga. Oh my god. You say that, but there was somebody in the comments of that of the assembly video who was like, you can hear the subliminal music coming in during that one part. I'm like, I added in the music. Obviously, I added in the music to be silly. But like somebody watching that was like, wow, they play live music, live creepy organ music on stage of the assembly. God damn it. Okay. You're right. That's why this is the last cringe stream. Okay. Anyway. Let's look at more things that happened this year. Denmark exposes Jehovah's Witnesses. Oh, yeah. Okay, so this is God's Gold. This was an interesting thing, and that was after we got this report in the Irish Independent about their tens of billions of dollars in assets. That was really fascinating. Speaking of which, the Blue Envelope channel has a great new video on Stephen Lett's assets specifically because his family owns a real estate company. He has made videos about that before. I was watching it this morning. It's really great. Okay, and then the annual meeting. What happened at the annual meeting? We had a couple changes, like a couple lame changes to JW doctrine. The thing that I found most interesting about the changes that happened at the annual meeting is that it contradicted some stuff that's in their most recent book on Bible prophecy, which is the the Pure Worship of Jehovah book. And to that end, I wonder if I can find this post. I can never manage to log into my All Worldly Reddit on desktop, so I've got it saved. I got a bookmark saved on my phone, but I can't get it up on the screen. So sorry, I'm going to pull up this XW subreddit and see if I can find this post that I saw just this morning. I thought it was really good. This is really, it's very active, like lots of new posts within the last few hours. Damn, am I wrong? Was this not even today's thing? Ah, here it is. Okay. This is my kind of post right here. So this is by Strange Interest 866 on the XJW subreddit. Books released in the last 40 years. I thought this was really fascinating. So what they're talking about is books on Bible prophecy and like deep spiritual things of God and the decline that's happened. So this person says, if we ever wonder about the decline in theology, it's down in part to the lack of intelligent written material. Put aside for a moment that it's inaccurate, an attempt was made to actually teach something. I think that's an important point. Sometimes I get a little jaded about like, well, who gives a shit because it was all stupid. Like when I have gone back and read stuff from when I was growing up thinking that the quality of the writing was better. I'm like, well, it's not like it's good. It's just differently weird. But like this person's saying, put aside for the fact that it's wrong, an attempt was made to actually teach something. I think they're right about that. If we were to take out the last book published, which is just a collection of scriptures, and the updated official study books, it looks a lot worse. We had 2 books on creation, several on prophecy. Take the reduction of magazines from 1,664 pages per year to 416 pages a year, and it hits again. That's not including the brochures that used to be produced every year. This person says, from 1985 to 2002, I felt like I was getting something meaty. 2003 to 2023, not so much. So they point out, like, okay, 1985, Life How Did It Get Here by Evolution of Creation. 1988, the Insight book. I mean, that's massive. 1989, the Young People Ask book. 1990, Mankind's Search for God. 91, The Greatest Man book. 93, The Proclaimers book. 95, The Knowledge book. 96, Secret to Family Happiness. 1998, Is There a Creator Who Cares About You? I probably said this before. My dad's joke that he would tell was like, punctuation is really important because you could read that title the wrong way. Like, is there a creator? Who cares about you? I always thought that was funny. I get my sense of humor from my papa. So 1998, the Creator book. 1999, Pay Attention to Daniel's Prophecy. 2000, Isaiah's Prophecy Part 1. 2001, Isaiah's Prophecy Part 2. 2002, The Benefit book. 2003, Learn from the Great Teacher. That's like the new expanded Great Teacher book. 2004, an updated My Book of Bible Stories with study questions. I don't know. 2005, the latest organized book. 2006, Live with Jehovah's Day in Mind. 2007, Come Be My Followers. 2008, Keep Yourself in God's Love. I also would say that post Isaiah's Prophecy book, definitely a big decline in books about prophecy specifically. Because the next one they do, how did this time out? All right, so Isaiah's Prophecy Part 2 comes out in 2001. It takes until... Where's the Jeremiah one? The fuck? I feel like I just saw it. Live with Jehovah's Day in Mind? No, but it's a while till they get to the Jeremiah book. Sorry, I totally fucked that up. I thought I knew which one it was. Come Be My Follower. Keep Yourself in God's Love. And yeah, then we really start to slow down. The Bearing Thorough Witness book. Which one even is that? I don't even remember that one. Imitate Their Faith. That's where the real fan fiction-y stuff starts. It's just essentially made up stories about Bible characters. In 2013, it is basically a book of like Bible characters, supposedly deep spiritual things, right? And you really don't get another one of those until the Pure Worship book, which happens when? Wait, why is that not on the list? Oh, okay. 2018. Pure Worship of Jehovah Restored at Last. That's crazy. Because Jesus, The Way, the Truth, and Life is just the Greatest Man book, slightly reworded. It's exactly the same. Often the wording and illustrations are the same too. So it's like, there's been a huge slowdown. 2018, the Pure Worship book is where like all their prophecies were last made canon. And then they haven't really published anything about that in the interim. And they just keep doing these video updates and stuff. And it kind of made me think, from their standpoint, it probably makes more sense to not put out books like this because they change stuff every year. Like, stuff that they released as New Light this year contradicted stuff that they said just last year. Like, the New Light from a year ago is already been replaced or contradicted by Newer Light. Thorough Witness was the Book of Acts one. Oh, that's a really boring one. Ugh. So I think they just don't bother because they could change stuff at any minute. And the minute they go on record and put it in a book, it feels much more like canonical and serious. And having all of this stuff, all of their teaching spread out among a bunch of different videos with governing body members explaining timelines makes it a little bit harder for them to pin down their theology. I guess the study watchtowers are really the only time when they do that, and those are more ephemeral because you never know when new light could be released. But yeah, it feels like laziness to me, and they're building a new movie studio on top of it all. Wild. Okay, well, I want to talk a little bit about the channel going forward this year. I'm going to be releasing a video for patrons soon, kind of a year in review for my channel. But for you normies, and sorry to call you that, it's just, listen, some people are premium alt-worldly subscribers. My goal for the channel is to just make as much fun stuff as I can. I'm just really enjoying making stuff, but I'm also enjoying making stuff for my other channel, System Failure. This is more pop culture stuff. I'm working on another video for that now, and so my goal is kind of like work-life balance. Like, I want to make sure that I'm doing more non-JW stuff than JW stuff. So my first priority is to finish Not a Cult and get that out. I'm really, really proud of how it's coming together, and you can still read that prolonged preview, but I also need to get it out of my system because it is a little traumatic. I took a break from writing it to work on a couple other things. So I don't know, this year was really weird. I was feeling introspective this weekend, kind of thinking about the new year, because like I had some goals going into this year, and that's why this is the last mopey stream of the year. Because I had a lot of goals going into the year. The first video I released, I just thought was going to be more successful, and I put a lot of effort into it. The like Freemason debunk video, just a lot of effort into the editing and stuff, and it just like it didn't pay off, you know. But whenever I wasn't putting all my hopes and dreams into something, it was just making something more spontaneously for fun, those videos ended up doing better, and I had more fun doing them because I wasn't putting as much like pressure on it. And I also think like I just enjoy the fact that this channel is kind of a video diary of sorts of just whatever I'm interested in at the time, and that you can see me go from someone who really doesn't know how to edit videos at all to now where I kind of do. So I'm just going to kind of continue making whatever I want, but and that'll be just a mix of serious video essays like that Freemason thing that I did, and some other ones I've done over the years, but also just kind of like fun, silly rebuttals. I guess I want to try and I do want to keep the channel maybe free of my stupid edits. Like I might try and now for real consciously put those somewhere else, but I do want to cap that off with the annual memeing video that I'm going to do. Because I don't know. I've really enjoyed making stuff. I feel like I'm at a point where I can make stuff relatively quickly that match what's in my head, and that didn't used to be the case. You know, it used to take me a long time to make something that was still shitty, and now it's getting better. So I'm enjoying it. But I'm enjoying writing most of all. Like another goal that I failed in this year, I thought was like getting Not a Cult published, but I couldn't. I had to take a break because it's triggering to work on. And I had hoped to get the kids book that I had been submitting to agents published, but I don't get to control that because they all said no. But I did an entirely new pass at that book. Like I rewrote the whole thing from page one, and I do think it's better, and I'm really proud of that. I've started a new, like another kids book, middle grade readers. That's who I'm trying to write for commercially. And it's like a kind of a sci-fi thing, and it's really fun. I'm really proud of it, and I'm going to start submitting that early next year, and just continuing to kind of like focus on what I'm passionate about. That's why I talk about like comparison being the theft of joy, because I did feel like this huge failure for a while during the year, and then I just realized it was just totally because I was thinking about it wrong. Like the things I wanted to happen didn't necessarily happen, but a lot of great things that I wasn't expecting did happen. And you know, like these streams, the Sunday service thing, I kind of thought that was it. Like I thought, ooh, these streams are doing well. I think that'll be great. And, you know, like I kind of feel like these streams are more chill now, and I'm not so worried about keeping on top of the news, but I really enjoy what we've been doing the last couple Thursdays. Like me and Eric from Skeptics and Scoundrels, just like totally by accident, kind of found a new format for live streams that it was really enjoyable, which is just people calling in and talking about their journey out of Jehovah's Witnesses. And that's been so fun. And that's something I literally only discovered 2 weeks ago. It was a total accident. I think the best stuff that came from this channel this year was stuff that I kind of just pooped out in a night and just threw together when I was in a giggly mood, and ended up being great. And the stuff where I felt like I was trying to make some profound point ended up, in hindsight, I don't know, not really working super well in my opinion. So I really, all of this stuff that I've learned has just been kind of like follow the fun and just to make stuff. I felt like a failure because, you know, I made this video on Across the Spider-Verse a year ago, and was like, and really put everything into it. I was really proud of how it turned out, and then it totally bombed. And I was like, God damn it! I feel like I suck. Like that's what I felt like. One of the female lead of Not a Cult, one of her, she's the physically out, mentally in character who starts experiencing this demon stuff. That starts pulling her back to Jehovah's Witnesses. She has this thing in her brain, which was she feels on some level that she's been cursed, that just nothing good was ever meant to happen to her. And that's like, that is me. That is me just putting my own trauma into a character. I didn't realize that I had that problem until I was writing that book. But that's true. Like, that's really what I felt like for my entire life. And writing the book and kind of working through it in that way has made me realize that that's ridiculous. I don't even believe in that. That's just silly. But it would be really self-reinforcing when I would focus on how well other people were doing. I would just be like, I just feel totally fucked. I feel like I'm never going to be as popular as other people in this space. And I'm just never going to be like, I'm never going to be able to make enough money to like create stuff full time. Nobody gives a shit. I always hear these stories about people who made some video that didn't do well, and then they wake up one day and, oh wow, it caught on and it went viral. Like, that never happens. But you know what? Like, that did actually happen to that Spider-Verse video. It just took a year, and then randomly I checked in one day on my other account, and it was doing great, and it's still like, it's doing well. Yeah, it's my channel System Failure. If you go to my the Altworldly bio, it should have a link to that. So yeah, that video did great, and like the Lost video I put out is whatever in terms of views, but everyone who's watching it really likes it. And I've got another one on Twin Peaks coming out that I'm excited about, and it's just like, I don't know. I think I've had to learn the lesson that you have no control over what the results of your creative endeavors are. So you just have to enjoy doing it. You just have to enjoy the process of doing it and doing it for yourself, because you don't actually get to control how people react to it, or if they do, or if anybody sees it. So that's why I want to make sure this is the last mopey thing of the year. You know, like I really was feeling bitter about it and like wanted to quit, because my perception was that I had essentially been like, you know, I felt like I was not only plagiarized a couple times by somebody, but then their plagiarized videos did better than mine, and then they lapped me in subscribers 10 times over. And I just felt like this is a fucking sign from the universe, and I'm not supposed to do this. And that was just ridiculous. You know, Christina really had to help me, talk me off the ledge there. And so much of my perceived failures were just totally in my own brain and not based on reality at all. Like, I'm so proud of the stuff I do, and I'm so grateful that anybody gives a shit about anything I do. This is so cool. It's really, really cool that anybody watches this stuff. So no mope 2025. Trying to get that shit out of my system. It just, I don't know. I started thinking about artists that I like, and just I can't imagine any of them complaining like that, like the way I've been doing. And so I'm like, that shit's cringe. I gotta just quit that Moperton attitude. Persona. No. I know, right? I never did quite figure out the owls. I'm glad you liked it. There's going to be another deep dive in January, and a very different subject. But anyway, that's what's going on, folks. And I don't know. I did kind of want to read something that I'm working on. I do this sometimes on Patreon, just kind of go through like shit I've been drawing, like little doodles and stuff, and I'll read segments of books I'm writing. So I don't know. Is there any interest in that? Or is that also cringe? I don't know. Sometimes I think I could go one way or the other. Oh, God damn it. No. No. There will be no songs on this channel. There will be one on System Failure eventually. I hate to tell you. Wait. Listen. Just with a certain hairstyle, with you coming off camera in a certain way. I insulted Matt the other day and was like, you kind of reminded me of Bob from Twin Peaks, but I now realize it's a very mean thing. And Christina chastised me immediately, rightfully. Let me see. Did I read people the parental units stuff? Also, where the fuck is that? All right, well, if you stick around, maybe I'll read some stuff from Not a Cult. That would be more apropos than this thing that's not even done, this science fiction thing. But, okay, I'll be right back. I just gotta pee, because I've been drinking coffee. So enjoy this.
It's interesting. So, planet Earth. Perfect. No. Now, think about it. Maybe we've that puts to or persecute yourself.
I mean, case in point, one of the best discoveries of the channel this year is the what's that song? The Pilot Wing 64 backing music. I mean, that's wonderful. What a wonderful addition to the canon. Also, this year is when I started doing the sound drops, and I think that stuff's been really fun. I want to play this one that I don't get to play as much as I want.
It's difficult not to take sides in politics. It's very difficult because we are aware of the issues.
That's one of my favorite JW videos. Whoever's doing the voiceover translation really sounds like AI. It's the same one where she's like, I took a piece of paper, just a little piece of paper, and wrote encouraging things and kept it in my wallet. I mean, by golly, this is the year where we discovered...
Mommy, when I get out, call me Sammy.
Can you imagine? Christina just said it in real life. We didn't used to have the conspiracy corner.
Welcome, Internet. I'm so happy to share with you this conspiracy theory.
My God, I mean, we've just before a few weeks ago we didn't have the pet drop.
Our spiritual paradise is a place that has many harmless animals.
Now, what do we mean by this?
We really, and almost never do I get to play the condemnation corner, which is a shame because it's one of my favorite.
Condemnation.
The nitpick. I mean, tomorrow's video is just a very, very long edition of the nitpick corner.
Why is it necessary to be so picky, to be so fussy?
And I mean, this year we played our first round of the first game ever. That's not what's happening.
That is not what is happening. That is not what is happening.
So, I mean, and I'll spoil it for you wonderful viewers today. We're going to play that tomorrow. Ooh, sorry. Had to sneeze. Just had to do a quick sneeze. Let me open this window. Got a little stuffy in here. All right. Good deal. We did that. Okay, well, let me see. What was I going to do? I was going to read Not a Call or some bullshit, probably. Now, you know what? Fuck it. I want to read you this this little sci-fi thing I'm writing for kiddies. Actually, I could do a poll. What am I doing? Should I read? The middle grade reader's book is called Parental Units. I really hope we can get the rights to that title because it's pretty important. I will queue up both of these just to be careful. August, Not a Culture. Oh, that's not even the right one. Okay. I'll just go to Patreon, I guess. Also, we're having way more people viewing than I would expect. You're packed with great material, spiritual gems, you might say. Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, really, this has been... Oh, yeah. I know. I went back and forth on whether or not this book should have a pun title, but I don't know. Feels on brand. Also, I don't know. For as dark as the book gets at times, it is a little funnier than I expected it to be, so it doesn't feel totally wrong. Where's my posts? Oh, yeah, I also forgot to plug, I got a Substack, literally just like a blog, which I post on sometimes for fun. Okay, also got Not a Call pulled up now. Now we're cooking with gals. Who's winning? Not a Call. Okay, all right, I'm going to call it. I'm going to mercy rule on Parental Units. That's probably for the best, TBH, because I should probably get a more finalized version of that before I start reading it out loud to people. Okay, so I've read a few segments of this on the show. I know I read one on the Halloween stream, and I think I read up to the point where Ben gets his assignment to be the first exorcist in the religion. I don't know if I did read the Korra stuff, our introduction to Korra. All right. Let's see. I don't know. Can anyone remind me? Because I could skip ahead, but I think... All right, let's share. Oh, wait. Should I do the... There's like a way I can show PDFs on StreamYard, but I'm pretty sure it sucks. I'm pretty sure you've done this before. Okay. So this is chapter 3. This is our introduction to Korra, a name that has significance if you are a Jehovah's Witness. I'm sure you've heard the story of Korra, though it's a dude in the Bible. All right, I'm going to start reading this. When did all this start? Korra stared past the 3 elders through the teary blur. She wiped her eyes, felt numb and dizzy. She told herself what nurses told patients as the anesthetic was already pushing into their bloodstream. Count backwards from 10. In the movies, it never takes the full 10 seconds. They'd wake up and it would be long over. Please, just let this be over. The men sitting on the other side of the table were perfectly spaced apart according to height, and she wondered if they'd planned it that way. This is what God's chosen people do. They plan things. Korra had not been raised in a religion, but in organization. Everything was organized, including, apparently, judicial meetings. Let all things take place decently and by arrangement. Each man wore a suit and had a sober look on his face, like this was a funeral. It basically was, she supposed. Pushed that thought out. The one who had spoken was Brother Graham, and his stringy gray hair stuck to the sweat on his scalp. Sister Kirshner? He prompted, apparently for the 3rd time. Korra cleared her throat. You mean like the first time I, another throat clear. Engaged in, or like, she expected, hoped, one of them to finish her sentence or give her a nod, some sort of permission to not say the word. Instead, they stared at her with a blank expectance, none of them appearing uncomfortable. Her eyes darted away, and she snuck it in through a sigh. Masturbated? Correct, said Brother Hamish. Brother Graham made a notation on his notepad. Has this been an ongoing situation or a few isolated instances? They stared. There was a box of tissues in the middle of the table. Brother Hamish reached for the box, and she was momentarily uplifted at the display of kindness, but he just grabbed a tissue for himself and blew his nose into it. Suppressing an eye roll, Korra slid the box over to her side of the table, wiped her nose, wiped her eyes. Brother Hamish repeated the question. It was about... She couldn't calculate it truthfully. A couple times a week since she was 14. How many times is that? Mom had taken her doors off the hinges after she got caught the last time. Had to do it in the bathroom, the shower. Then Mom started timing her showers. Her uncle had been an elder for a few years. Korra knew the sorts of things that, if said in this meeting, could get her in trouble. More trouble than she was already in. But Jehovah would know if she was lying. A few times. I don't know. A few. The elders took turns talking now, like it was rehearsed ahead of time. She supposed it was, actually, which made it weirder. These men had sat down in a private room and talked about a 16-year-old girl's jerk-off habits for a decent length of time together. Graham, would you say you're enslaved to the practice? No, I've already quit. Niece, do arousing images linger in your mind? Sometimes, but I pray about it and they go away. Hamish, what about during this encounter with Jill? Korra's eyebrows shot up, pulse quickened. Terror, embarrassment, confusion. Who told them about that? What encounter? Hamish, Sister Ballard says she found you and Jill in a state of undress together. Did you touch each other? Were either or both of you naked? Or partially exposed? No, Korra said. She wasn't totally lying. They had not been naked. I told you, Sister Ballard was mistaken. She just walked in on us changing. It's just a misunderstanding. Jill doesn't... She's not like me. Brother Hamish wrote something in his notebook. How do you know? I know. Korra lied. The words of that fucking song came to her mind. The song her mom said she wasn't supposed to listen to. This is what you get. Maybe that was Jehovah telling her something. The road to sin starts with small things like that. Worldly music, immoral television shows, romance novels. You convince yourself it's not a sin, or not quite, maybe, if you squint. and little by little you let yourself give in until you don't even recognize yourself, until you're here. Brother Niece, these homosexual thoughts, do you experience them frequently? Yes. Hamish, do you think of homosexual acts when you touch your genitals? Which I did not write correctly in this PDF. Her stomach sank into a dark pool. Yes. Graham, do you penetrate yourself? No. Niece, do you fondle your breasts? The dam was welling. Tears welled up. Sorry, the dam was breaking. Tears welled up. She was angry now, not with herself, at them, even though she knew she shouldn't be. Hearing these words coming from these men, she'd only ever heard of them talk about the love of Jehovah and Jesus, about the joys of the ministry, about paradise. The same sweet man who'd given her baptism talk was now saying shit like, penetrate. No. She had tried, actually, but it was tough to do on the toilet. She fought off the anger. They were God's shepherds, doing what they were supposed to be doing, set forth in his word. She should be mad at herself, but it just seemed... No. Another gnat to flick away. It was her fault, all of this. Graham, would you experience an orgasm? They stared. Why the fuck else would I do it? She averted her eyes. Yes, she said. She said a quick silent prayer, and again apologized for internal cursing. She wondered if God was getting annoyed with her. Jehovah God was more patient than humans, but Cora had grown tired of herself a long time ago. If he dumped her now, she couldn't blame him. How are we doing? This is based on real things, including my own experiences with elders. The three men looked to each other. In a brief silent moment, they had reached some mutual understanding. Holy Spirit in action. Niece sniffled and spoke first. Do you still love Jehovah? Of course, she said. Does the devil lie dormant inside you? Yes, but he is restless, she recited. Recited? A numb, prickly feeling fell over Cora. She did not know what she was reciting. She had never heard or said those words before, but they'd fallen effortlessly out of her mouth. Is the season yet? No, she recited, but it is due. Would you say you have renounced this defiling, unclean practice? I have, really, Cora broke down. I'm embarrassed. I knew it was wrong. I just don't want to... A lot of ways Cora could have ended that sentence. Back then, she defined herself by what she didn't want. Maybe it was still that way. As it happened, she ended the sentence with her hand covering her nose and mouth, an instinct. It fully struck her then where she was, to whom she was talking. She'd been fuzzily aware of it, but she hadn't allowed it to be real. It had been forcefully reduced to this splotchy thing in her periphery. But now the ink stain was spreading, becoming indelible. Now she would be marked. People would know, not what she'd done, but that she had done something. Her hands were shaking now. Vomit rose, hot acid in her throat. She started. Lean back, said Brother Graham. Cora craned her neck back, let her head hang loose on the back of the chair. If she was lucky, maybe it would fall off. She stared at the lights above her, still couldn't figure out if they were blinking or if she was. Brother Graham grunted as he lifted his briefcase and set it across from her. She couldn't help but sneak a glance. He opened it in such a way that she couldn't see the contents, but she knew it was inside because she had had this dream before. With a sniff, he produced a small plastic container from the briefcase and set it on the table. It was an opaque clamshell, and she could already see the dim hints of red circles floating within. Brother Graham's hands were weathered, spotted with age, but they were perfectly steady. He had given a comment during the book study years ago about his life as a surgeon before finding the truth. She'd felt quite connected to him when he'd said that. Even though she wasn't a nurse yet, she would be. She knew she would be, because it was the only career option her parents could agree to after pioneering and getting kicked the fuck out of the house. Now she felt like a different species, some lesser creature condemned to crawl on its belly. She looked back up at the ceiling. It'd be better not to see. She already felt her adrenaline spiking, even as her body froze with numb acceptance, and her eyes settled on a brown stain on the ceiling tile. Count back from 10. She heard the snap of rubber gloves conforming to Brother Graham's wrists, the click of the contact case opening, and suddenly he was standing over her, the light above him casting him as a dark contour. Brother Hamish appeared to her left, Niece on the right. They were rubbing their hands together, and the sharp smell of alcohol burned her nostrils. Open wide, Hamish said. Cora's eyes strained, but he wasn't talking to her. The sudden sensation of fingers pressing against her eyelids, peeling them apart. Graham steadily lowered the crimson contact lens into place, and his index finger squished against her cornea. Her eyes went red when suddenly, Bud's in again? The nightmare was broken. Cora blinked and snapped to consciousness. Shit. She took out her earbud clumsily, her wet rubber glove struggling to grip it. Say again, she said. Drea was in the doorway, arms folded. We've got like 5 case carts out here. It's just busy. No shit. Drea laughed and rolled another case cart into decontamination, the metal clanking as it collided into another. There were 38 surgeries on the schedule. A normal day had more like 20, and most days didn't start with finding out a friend had died. How we doing, folks? I see clapping emojis, which I take to be a compliment. I don't know why I suddenly became a Southern preacher. Cora spent her mornings scrubbing blood off knives, spent the rest of her time trying to figure out how to do anything else. Today she was trying to figure out how to not think about Jill, but every memory contained her. Now, every drop of blood did too. Not just blood, not just knives, laryngeal scissors encrusted with mucus, bone drills dusted with flaky white marrow, ureteroscopes dripping with piss. And still, Cora thought she preferred this to washing dishes at Chef Annette. Decontamination and sterile processing department of Hill Valley Methodist had been a step up. She possessed no college degree and had worked diligently at menial jobs since the time she was 19, culminating in a particularly demoralizing stint in the kitchen at a diner called Chef Annette. Chef Annette was a lower-class diner on the middle-class side of an upper-class town. Everything in the township was gentrified and modernized, but the family-owned diner was kept, Cora figured, intentionally shitty to give the locals a place to cosplay as ordinary folks. Cora had not known she had a shivering aversion to wet food until she had taken the job, until she'd had to scrape half-eaten hamburger down the garbage disposal. At least, Cora thought now, blood was supposed to be wet. At least HVM had health insurance, same shitty pay, slightly less shitty benefits, a step up. A step up to where, though? Her mind drifted sometimes, as it did now, as she scrubbed blood out of the ridges of a hemostat, to one of the few video games she had been allowed to play as a kid, Super Mario 64, where the Italian plumber is confronted with an endless staircase. If you had not collected enough power stars, you got stuck in an endless loop, climbing red velvet steps, up and up and up forever, for the staircase would never end. Cora had been allowed to play this game because it was free of Satan's influence. No magic, well, unless power stars counted as magic. No violence, unless jumping on cartoon turtles was violence. No spiritism that her parents knew of. There was a level called Big Boo's Haunt, where Mario had to venture through a haunted mansion, and Cora always made sure to play that level only when Mom and Dad weren't around. They were just cartoon ghosts, not even called ghosts in the game. Sounds like you're looking for excuses, Cora's mom had said, to let Satan into this house. When Cora's daughter Liv played Mario 64 for the first time, Cora had not made her skip Big Boo's Haunt. She let Liv read The Hobbit, even though it had a wizard. She let Liv celebrate Christmas, even though Jesus didn't really die that day. She let Liv spend the night with her worldly fourth-grade friends because Cora and Olivia Kirshner were worldly people now. Like all non-Jehovah's Witnesses, Cora and Liv lived in Satan's world, and in Satan's world there was no hope of resurrection. Maybe since Jill Ballard was only half in Satan's world, she had a 50% shot at being re-alived in paradise. The resurrection is not guaranteed, because only Jehovah and Jesus know who is wicked in their hearts. Only death is inevitable. Jill Ballard was always going to die. Whether it happened 50 years from now due to a random heart attack or a suicide yesterday at the age of 29, Jill was always going to die. The question was whether she'd be resurrected. I figured I'd just read the rest of this chapter. Christmas, right? Did I say that wrong? Did I say died? That could be. Yeah, I figured I'd just finish this little chapter. Cora grabbed another set of scissors from the dirty surgical set beside the sink, ran it under the water, splayed the handles apart, scrubbed the insides of the blades. She plopped it into the enzymatic tub to soak, moved on into the hemostats. When it was done, she set the instruments back in their trays, stacked them on the tiered racks of the washer, and slid them through. Started a cycle. Water flooded the window. On the other side, another cycle would begin. That's what she missed most about the organization, the cycle, the routine. One of those lazy rivers that lets you float along a perfect loop. Jehovah's Witnesses were like that. Sterile processing was like that. Life, regrettably, was not. Life was a messy, squiggly line that always ended one way, no matter how long it dragged on for. You're born, you grow up, you make friends, you fuck your friends. It's never the same. Then your family shuns you. God abandons you. The friends you fucked die. You find out on Facebook. Then one day it's your turn to make the evening news. Well, let's be real. Cora wouldn't make the news. Trees fall in forests all the time, but there's too many trees to give a shit about all the sounds they make. There would only be silence when Cora died. No ripple of grief would be spread by her passing. Even Liv might be relieved. That evening, Dax would text Cora, asking her if she was dooming again, and Cora would smile in spite of herself, smile in spite of the shame and fear and the horrible, wonderful pain she would feel as flesh peeled off her bloody hands. Jehovah's Witnesses had a saying, "We're temporary residents of this world. The end could come any day. The governments and banks and politicians and entertainers would be condemned to a fiery destruction. Good witnesses, ones who followed all the rules and really loved Jehovah with all their hearts, would survive. They would transform the earth into a beautiful paradise, return God's creation to its original Edenic state. This life, then, the 9 to 5 and work, friends, and birthday parties, was not real. It was a thing people said, and she grew to become one of the people who said it. This is not the real life. Real life begins after Armageddon, after Jehovah cleans the slate and imprisons Satan in the abyss. But that was only true for those in good standing, those whose hearts were pure, and only God could know that. But the elders had reckoned God knew Cora's heart was no good, so she'd been disfellowshipped and cast out like a leper. Or worse, actually, because Jesus healed lepers. If you were disfellowshipped, only you could heal yourself. You were shunned to the place that was not the real world, with all the people who would die when the fireballs rained. As Cora scrubbed dried blood off the teeth of a pair of forceps, the music answered through her earbuds, the lyrics to a song, "I'm not living, I'm just killing time." The work cycle ended, another frantic half-asleep assembly line. Dirty to clean, rinse, scrub, wash cycle, repeat. When that cycle ended, the next began, changing out of her scrubs and spraying on deodorant, waiting on the shuttle bus to take her to the employee lot, waiting in stalled traffic at 4-way stops along 2-lane roads between vast fields of crops. Hurry up and wait. Always in transit from one place to the next, always arriving where she had already been. In the pickup lane at Hill Valley Elementary, the sensation crept in, as it often did, that she was meant to be doing something else. She wondered about Jill, as she marinated in her own dark thoughts. She wondered if she killed Jill, in some roundabout, time-delayed way. Cora had lit a fuse all those years ago, when she and Jill were just teenagers fooling around. They had told themselves they were only pretending, practicing, daring each other. Cora thought the bomb went off a decade ago, when she got disfellowshipped after a couple reprovals and a marking. But maybe the fuse had stayed lit all that time. Winding around corners Cora hadn't thought to be there. Maybe the bomb was going off now. Children screamed and cheers when the school bell rang. Kids poured out of the school. Cora grabbed a pen from the cup holder and jabbed it into the top of her thigh, pressing it until she felt the ballpoint break past the denim and puncture her skin. It gave her focus, brought her mind back from the depths. She needed to be present. There was someone counting on her now. Jill was dead, and would continue to be dead after Liv finished her homework and went to bed. Olivia, her daughter, tiny but growing far too fast, was trotting happily with a too big backpack up to the car with a gummy smile. This was the power of Liv's smile. It could break through the 80 layers of irony, poisoning, and depression and cynicism caked on Cora's soul and let light through. Liv hopped in and did her seatbelt. "Good day?" Liv asked, noting her mother's smile. "It is now," Cora said. On the way home, they talked about their days. "Learn anything fun today?" "I learned that snakes can hold their breath underwater for 15 hours, said Liv. "That's not fun. That's terrifying," Liv shrugged. "Just a fact. They're showing some reptiles in class this week. A man from the Columbus Zoo's coming." "Is this man from the zoo planning on drowning a snake?" Liv laughed. "Didn't you listen? You can't drown a snake. It'd take 15 hours, and school is only 8. They sang along to Taylor Swift as they drove through patches of suburbia. Cora made a left on Franz, the long road that got shittier the closer they got to their shitty apartment, like it had been built that way. When an ad came on the radio, Liv asked, "Did you learn anything at work?" That was the deal. Liv decided last year it wasn't fair that Mommy got to ask what Liv learned, but Liv didn't get to ask what Mommy learned. Cora couldn't argue with that logic. She also, on this day, was not ready to tell Liv about Jill. Not ready to broach the subject of death in general, actually. I learned that my coworker Sharon, who smells like old lady breath, right, which is why you gotta brush your teeth, right? You're not allowed to have old lady breath until you're old. Ew. Deal? Deal, just tell me. Well, I learned that Sharon divorced the same man and remarried him 4 times. Liv scrunched her nose. Why? There wasn't a good answer to that. Love is weird. You'll learn that when you're older. I already know that. I love you and you're weird. Cora smiled, saw her daughter's smile in the rear view. I love you too, weirdo. Brief pause before we finish this chapter. Thank you so much for the happy words and for the $5 super chat by Unite for Peace 88. Great content, just brilliant. Give him hell, Jake. Thanks so much. Yes, fun. There's some Easter eggs in the street names and stuff in this book. There's definitely some super online XJW references scattered throughout. Their apartment was like all the others in the 3-story building. 1.5 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a half kitchen, no dishwasher. Coin laundry in the next building over. Cora wondered what Liv made of the place. Her friends at school lived in houses. The cartoons Liv watched did not feature little girls living in places like this. Places that were not horrible, but rather small and uninspiring. Cora worried Liv thought the same thing she herself did, that the girl deserved something better. You wouldn't think it by the way Liv acted. Liv was, by every observable metric, happy. Cora only worried her daughter hadn't learned unhappiness yet. Worried her daughter, like everyone else, would soon realize that Cora was failing. A cell phone on the dining room table buzzed. This is a detail that I have to fill in, by the way, in the final draft. Anyway, dining room and table both seemed like exaggerations given its utility and location. It's what Cora had come to call it. And anyway, a phone was buzzing. Not Cora's, though. Liv's. She hadn't realized it until she picked it up and saw the screen with the Rey from Star Wars home screen picture and the name on the text message, Grandma. A geyser of adrenaline burst in Cora's chest. Probably nothing, Cora told herself. Mom wouldn't. But of course Mom would, and of course Mom did. Of course, when Cora read the text chain, it was something. Grandma, a cute cartoon that made me think of you. Hug emoji. There was a link to the cartoon in question. Hello.
Hi, sorry. Jimmy Carter died.
Oh, brief interruption to our story. Jimmy Carter died.
He was 100.
And he was 100. Okay. Well, maybe like this grandma character.
I was more walking to the bed.
No, you're fine. Okay, a cute cartoon that made me think of you. Hug emoji. There was a link to the cartoon in question, which led to the Jehovah's Witness website, some knockoff Pixar-looking thing called Become Jehovah's Friend. Sweet boiling Christ, they have cartoons now. Liv had responded an hour later with a heart. TY Gaming. Before Cora could reason herself out of rage, she had already hit the call button, an instinct. Then she heard a voice behind her. Oh, Cora turned around. Liv was there, looking guilty. Did you watch this? I was going to tell you. When? Why didn't... Cora composed herself, took in a shaky breath. I'm not mad at you, sweetie. I just... Livy, the voice crackled on the from the phone. Shit. Cora forgot that she'd already dialed. Liv was flushed red. Cora figured she looked and sounded the same way. Mom. That's how Cora said it, a one-word statement, an accusation contained in the one syllable. Oh, Coraline, is everything... Yep, just... Cora trailed off as she paced into the living room. Just wanted to go work on your homework, Liv. Mommy's talking to Grandma. Liv, who had been lingering in the kitchen, sulked off to her bedroom. So she's all right? Mom said. Cora collapsed on the couch. Of course she's all right. It's just that we... Cora saw Liv peeking out of her bedroom doorway. She snapped her finger and mouthed, homework. Pouting, Liv closed her bedroom door. Mom, you... Cora stopped, deep breath. You remember I told you about boundaries, right? Mom feigned politeness. I do. Liv cell. Only in emergencies, remember? There was an emergency, Mom said, not a shade of anxiety in her voice. A cuteness emergency. Did she like it? No, actually, she's pretty upset by it, because she knows you and I had a conversation about keeping religion out of any Well, she gave it a heart and said thank you. Well, she wrote TY, which as I understand it is slang for thank you, yes. Liv was just being polite, okay? How do you... I'm upset by it. Cora let the ugly silence fill in. Her mom broke it. Cora? She's got to learn about Jehovah somehow. Knife blades dragged along Cora's innards. I can't deal with this right now, Mom. I was going to call and tell you. I'm sorry that this had to be the conversation, but you should sit down. There's something you should... I know about Jill. Cora clenched her teeth and forced the tears down. Okay, I know what you're doing, but what I'm doing? Need to make dinner, and Liv is struggling in math, so I have to... The cry of peace and security is going to be soon, Coraline. Mom was holding back tears, too. Everything I taught you about, everything we as Jehovah's people are still out there preaching about, it's all coming true. And I'm not just talking about the Ballard girls. Wait, what? Cora shook her head. Ballard girls? The Great Tribulation is coming soon, sweetie. The cry of peace and security is... Mom, what happened? We just learned at the last convention that Russia is the prophesied king of the North, and Mom, Cora shouted. Why did you... Ballard girls? Plural? Her mother sighed, long pause. It wasn't just Jill who died, sweetie. Hillary, too. Her sister, you remember? Cora felt frozen, hypothermic. Her tears couldn't be bothered to brave the cold. I remember, she said. How? If you believe the papers, same as Jill. Cora had not read the papers, but the link she'd clicked on, which led her to the online version of the Columbus Dispatch, said Jill Ballard killed herself. It's why you need to come back to Jehovah, Cora, because Satan's attacks are just going to get stronger. Cora stiffened. Okay. I appreciate you, Mom. Okay? I know your heart's in the right. I love you. But yeah, I'm dealing with Jill, and now Hillary, I guess, and dinner, and Liv needs to be able to make her own choices in life. Oh, she will, Mom said. She will make her own decisions. I know full well a mother doesn't get to choose who her daughter grows up to be. Cora clicked off the phone, annoyed that her thumb didn't crack the screen when she did it. The knives again, scraping her organs, anger seeping out like blood, a scream. She'd need a knife to let it out. Cora walked into the kitchen. Her trembling hand pulled open the silverware drawer. She'd had a good run. She drowned the remaining voice, already so quiet, telling her to stop. It wasn't about hurting herself. It was about letting out the scream. It was about focus, clarity. I'm sorry, Mommy. Cora dropped the knife back in the drawer, quickly slid it shut, turned around. Liv, baby. Liv ran over and hugged Cora on the waist. I'm sorry, Liv said. You didn't do anything wrong. Liv hugged tighter. I just know you're sad. At that, Cora cried. Liv walked her over to the dining room table that wasn't a dining room table. They both cried for a while. Grandma makes you sad, Liv said. Cora took a shaky breath. It's complicated, baby girl. Like Dad? Cora nodded. There were too many fucking conversations she wasn't ready to have. Life's a lot of complicated. Liv looked worried, and Cora knew what her concern was. Not math homework complicated, Cora said. I promise math is just a thing you have to do in school. Liv looked skeptical, even though Cora had told her this many times. What if in the future everyone has to be a mathematician? We have calculators, Cora smiled, so it would be a very easy job. But what if also, in that future, all the calculators came to life and made us all our slaves to punish us for making them do all that math for so long? Cora laughed, wiped her nose on the sleeve of her hoodie. Liv was funny and kind and compassionate and creative. Cora would give her daughter a life where those good qualities could blossom and grow into a future full of options. Cora had only ever been given one. Liv's innocent joke had brought this fact to mind, or not even the joke itself, but one word, slave. When Cora was Liv's age, she had been told over and over, you are a good-for-nothing slave. It was said warmly, as a loving reminder, or as chastisement when she, or anyone in the congregation, needed an ego check. Luke 17:10, Cora's mom would say, and Cora knew this was a prompt for her to recite the verse, when you have done all the things assigned to you, say we are good-for-nothing slaves. What we have done is what we ought to have done. Liv would have a future. She was good for something. But Cora, like Jill, like Hillary, like all of Jehovah's people who failed to stay on the narrow path to salvation, was good for nothing. Good for nothing slaves had only one future, one fate, the same fate shared by all sinful mankind. Thrown outside, into the darkness, to weep and gnash their teeth. Oh, Liv said. Cora snapped out of her reverie. Her daughter was already working on her math homework next to her at the knotted table, and she spoke without so much as glancing up at Cora. Who's Jill? Liv asked. A friend from work? So yeah, let's end it there. And in the next chapter, we cut back to Bethel, and Ben gets his assignment to go check out a very creepy situation with two girls, Jill Ballard and Hillary Shiro. And a fun little mystery begins. I don't know. Thanks for indulging me, guys. Thanks for listening. I hope it was fun to listen to. I realized at a certain point I may have actually read this on stream before, so remind me next time if I read from it again, and I'll read the next part. Boy. Damn DWH. Only 93 watching you tonight. Your videos are dreadful. Very boring. I don't know, man. I seemed like we had plenty of people, and it was good. That's my take. DWH is wrong, and it was good. Thank you, people. So cool. I love these characters so much already. Thank you so much. I was, there are fun characters and funny things that happen. That's like a particularly depressing, chapter. Oh, maybe that's what he was seeing. Hey, let's shout out this commentary here. Matthew Carr was just removed as an unbaptized publisher today for smoking and voting in the 2024 election. Matthew Carr, you sound a lot like me smoking and voting in the 2024 election. So glad to be out. It's abusive. It totally is. I'm also happy for your freedom, and I'm sorry that you were wrapped up in it for whatever length of time that was. Feel free to reach out if you need to talk about it or anything. Thanks for listening to the book. I hope to complete the book and have it out by the spring or the middle of next year. I'm just taking my time with it because I don't know. I'm really happy with it, and I think it's good. And it's not even the good part. It's not even the good, crazy, scary stuff that happens at the end. You haven't even seen any demons yet in the book. Thanks, Alicia. LOL, I'm also gay. Still it me. LOL, I'm also gay could be my, bio. Fuck, I clearly ran out of steam. Oh, if only you could purchase a copy right now. You cannot. But as soon as people can, I will let you know. Oh, nice. I'm glad you're able to not secretly watch my channel anymore. How cool. With your real name and face and everything, presumably. All right, gang. Well, I'm going to get to work editing a video that will be out tomorrow. And if all goes according to plan, there will be a video every day this week. And Matthew Carr, you should email me because I'm very curious to hear about what happened with the voting thing. If anybody wants to email me, exjwfaq@gmail.com, xjwfaq@gmail.com. Yeah, let me know because I'm very curious about that. The voter suppression thing is really underreported. And I feel like a lot of XJWs don't even appreciate the degree to which it's a problem. So I would be really interested to hear your experience. But have a great day, everybody. I'm going to play this little thing that I forget what it is. I think this is also an unpolished part of the upcoming annual memeing.
Now let's be real simple. Me, David, you are my children. I don't have to tell you that the governing body are totally self-absorbed. They spend a lot of time on the internet, a lot of time on social media, talking about themselves, talking about their own accomplishments. I can scale a wall. How impressive. David did that. And guess what?